Welcome to Retro Coder. I'm Nate Bothman. This episode I'm going to show you how to use your phone as an NES Classic Alternative. Let's do this. After months of hype, Nintendo released the much anticipated NES Classic on November 10th, 2016 for a modest $60. Featuring 30 built-in games, the Classic is a modern miniature version of the NES. Without cartridges, you can only play the games that came with the system. However, some smart people have modded the Classic to add games to it. Nostalgia swept the country as demand outweighed the supply, driving the price up online. The demand was so great, prices reached $1,000 on release day. That price eventually dropped to $250 if you really want to shell out the cash for a $60 item. That's almost a 500% markup. People stood in line for hours as if it were Black Friday. Unless you had the luxury to stand in line at all hours of the night, you were not getting a NES Classic. Only the most dedicated customers got one. In April of this year, Nintendo, to my dismay, announced that they were discontinuing the NES Classic, ultimately disappointing many customers that would have purchased the unit if they were afforded the opportunity. After the announcement, the price went back up to over $300. The good news is there are many alternatives to the NES Classic, in many cases a better alternative, since the Classic only had a finite number of games preloaded onto the system. A good alternative is using a smartphone. The first step to using a smartphone as the NES Classic is to download an NES emulator from the Play Store or Apple Store, depending on what type of phone that is used. There are many to choose from. For this example, I'm using an Android phone. The app I'm using is called Retro NES. The emulator needs games to run. Once the emulator has been installed, it's time to download ROMs, which is the games themselves. I recommend creating a folder to put all your ROMs in. For legality reasons, I advocate to only download ROMs that you have a hard copy of. It's ultimately up to your discretion. Once you've downloaded some ROMs, then you can run the emulator. Let's take a look at how Retro NES works. I am using a Super Nintendo Bluetooth controller, so I need to go into settings to set it up. First you go to Key Gamepad Input Setup. Then you go to Auto Detect Device to set up. Then I click on any of the buttons. Then I go to Set Gamepad Keys. I have already done this, so we can go ahead and load a game. We'll go ahead and load Super Mario Brothers, a classic. We'll go ahead and continue the game that I started earlier. Now, if you want to do a larger screen, you can always cast this to a TV or use a tablet. But as you can see, we got Super Mario Brothers in all its former glory. I hope you found the episode interesting and useful. Until next time, thanks for watching.